Hey, cutie pies, it is Lanikia, and I am coming to you with another episode of The Young and the Restless. This is for 3/29/2022. And don't forget that if you're looking to work from home, please check out my work from home videos located on the channel as well. Now, this episode, a scale of 1 to 10, I'll probably give it a solid 7 because I'll give it an 8 just because Michael came back. So I'll give it an 8. So we start off. And Victoria says the only way to save the company is for her to stay with Ashlyn. So she has to go home to Ashlyn and make sure everything is working good in her marriage. And of course, the family is like, "What? No, you can't. You don't have to do that." And she was like, "I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying. I'm saying I have to do this, and y'all just need to trust me." And everything, and they're just like, Girl, your judgment has not been good the last few relationships that you've been in, and now you got the company in jeopardy, so we don't know just about trusting you. But then we go and we see so Ashlyn is at society, and Abby comes out, and and she starts talking to him, and she's really friendly with him and everything, because y'all know how Abby is. But girl can't read a room, because Ashlyn wasn't really, he was, you know how someone doesn't want to be bothered, but they're being polite to you. That's kind of what it was. But then he asked her, because she talks about Victoria and how, she's just being friendly with him and being nice to him. He said, "Have you talked to the rest, like the Victoria or the family?" And she was like, "No, I haven't talked to anyone or whatever." Abby got her own things going on, and so he took full advantage of her being friendly. And I'm like, Ashlyn, don't be like that. I guess it was so nice for him to finally have somebody be nice to him out of the people that he know. That he's like, okay. And plus the Newmans obviously haven't started telling everything because she's being so friendly to him. Now he tells her he's waiting on Victoria, and she's like, "Oh, okay, it'll be nice to see Victoria, so I'm gonna wait around just to say hi to her." And he was like, "I don't know, because she's running a little late, so she might have got caught up in the office, and I'm just actually gonna drink this drink and probably get out of here." But then he gets a text on the phone, and he's like, "Oh, that's probably Victoria." But he looks at the phone, and the phone says, Michael Baldwin got away from us. And you could tell, like, he's like, "Oh my gosh." So then we see Lauren and Chloe talking. I'm like, Chloe, leave this woman alone. She does not want to look at the signs. But Chloe is trying to get Lauren to focus on work and everything. And Lauren is just like, I mean, how many episodes do we have to see where Lauren is telling you, "I don't want to focus on that. I want to worry about Michael." Like, be a friend and just let this woman worry and just be a listening ear. But so Lauren is just like, "What happened with Kevin?" She said, "Kevin left last night and I haven't heard from him." And that's what Chloe told Lauren, and Lauren was like, "That is not good." Like, I wish he would have told you what he was doing or whatever. And Chloe was just like, he didn't tell me, so I don't know. And then all of a sudden Kevin comes in, and they're like, "Kevin, where's Michael? Like, what news do you have on Michael? What information?" And then Michael's at the door, and he tells her she looks good and everything. And so they make up, and they're hugging and lovey-dovey, and she's happy to see him, but she's also like, "Sir, I was worried about you. Like, I needed to hear from you and everything." And he tells her, "I know, and I'm gonna explain everything. I'm gonna, give you all of the information, but first I need to see Victor Newman." And she's like, and Lauren was like, "What?" And she's like, "But I need, but she's like, see Victor." He was like, "Yes, I have to go see Victor." And she was like, "No, what you're gonna do is tell me what happened to you and who's responsible for this." So then we see that, oh God, oh, everybody always on a text when they know I'm doing this. So then we see that, I'm sorry guys. So then we see that Ashlyn tells Abby all the text was about work, and she could see he's visibly upset, and she was like, "Well, you're like my dad. Like, when he's focused on something or whatever, he carries the stress in his face. I can see it." And so he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's right." So then he tells her, "I have to take this call. I have to make this call real quick." And she was like, "Go ahead." And so he calls, and he says, he tells the people, what do you mean Michael is missing? And they tell him Michael got away from them. And he said, all those men, and you telling me Michael got away? He was like, we need to find this and put it into it permanently. I said, oh, are you putting a hit on Michael? And then he says Michael can't leave out Peru. And I'm like, Michael is home. So like it took them forever to update you that he was missing. Mama, that hurts my leg. So then he tries to call Ashlyn tries to call Victoria again, but she's not picking up because she's still over there with her family. So then Victoria's just telling the family, y'all need to trust me and know that I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And Victor tells her, trust you with my company, because he's like, girl, I gave you the company and look what you've done. You went and married this man that we all had our doubts about. Now Victor liked to say he had his doubts at first, but okay, Victor, because you was okay. But he was like, I built this company. And she said, I have control over it now. And I'm going to do what's best for the company. And y'all just got to trust me and know that that I'm doing the right thing. And Victor says, I need to know your plan because I can't trust you without a plan. But she doesn't want to give him a plan. Nobody wants to give anybody anything. Like, that's the whole problem now. If y'all would communicate, y'all wouldn't, you wouldn't be in this mess. But she said y'all went behind my back and was finding all this information and nobody told me about any of it. But Victoria, quiet as kept, you wouldn't have believed them anyway. So I mean, that's not that far of a stretch from the imagination on why they didn't tell you. But anyways, Victoria just says y'all have to trust me, and then Nick is like, you you okay, for us to trust him, you got to say that you don't love him and you're not going back to him and you don't trust Ashlyn after everything he's done. And Victor's like, Elsa, you got to tell us that. Do you still love him? Do you still trust him after everything he's done? And Victor is like, answer your brother's question. And Victoria just tells them once again, like, listen, y'all have to start. She just keeps saying, y'all have to trust me. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to protect the company. And then she goes up to Victor and she's like, Daddy, you gave me this company right here in this office, and I won't let anything happen to it. And he's a little shaky on her judgment and everything. But he says, listen, I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna give this to you. I don't want to. I would rather. I feel more comfortable if I knew your plan. But okay, Victoria, I'm gonna let you have your space and do what you got to do. And she was like, thank you. I just need you guys to trust me. And I have to go home and I have to be with Ashlyn and I have to do this because I am protecting the company. And Victor's like, okay, all right. And then when she leaves, Victor, Nikki, and Nick talk, and they're just like, "Oh no." And but Victor says, "Don't worry, if her plan, if she doesn't have a plan or whatever, I'm gonna have a plan to get rid of Ashton Locke out of our company and out of the family." So then we go back to Lauren and Michael and Chloe and Kevin. And Lauren says, who is behind this? And he says, it's Ashton Locke. He's behind all of this. But he has to reassure Lauren, like, listen, I don't want to leave you. That's why I came to you first, because Lauren doesn't want to let him go. And he said, that's why I came to you first, because I wanted to reassure you that I'm okay. And he was like, don't blame Kevin for this or whatever, which you can't blame Kevin for this. He said, don't blame Kevin for this. I told him because I couldn't trust anyone. I told him not to tell y'all what was going on and everything. And he says, and don't blame Victor either. He said, but I have to go talk to Victor because it is very important that I speak to him. And finally, she's like, I mean, he don't give her no choice. She has to let her go. She has to let him go. And she's like, okay, go ahead and go. And so he goes, he leaves, and she apologizes to Kevin, and Kevin was like, no, it's not a problem, whatever. But she's like, okay, I gotta go. And so Lauren leaves as well, so that leaves Kevin and Chloe. And he's like, man, I feel bad that I made Lauren worry. And Chloe's like, what about me? I'm like, Chloe, girl, you was not worried. Like, it didn't seem like it, because the whole time Lauren was worried about Michael. All you wanted to do was show, let's show designs and stuff. But he told her, he said, I wanted to tell you, but I didn't even know what I was walking into. He said, I got a message that said, this is Michael meeting in San Diego. And he said, and I tested it out. She was like, how did you even know it was Michael texting you? He said, because he said, don't tell Lauren or Chloe. He said, and I asked, can I tell Gloria? And Michael said, it doesn't matter. She won't care. So he was like, so I knew it was Michael because my mama wasn't going to care. Mother wasn't going to care about us if something happened anyways. And he said, so then he went there and he got another text message that said, meet in the park. And he said, then when he saw Michael, Michael was, he was looking over, he was paranoid and he was shook and he was looking over his shoulder. He didn't trust the phones, he didn't trust anything. So it just made him like, dang, something is going on. And she said, well, what about this Ashlyn Locke? What did Michael mean that Ashlyn was behind everything? And Kevin says, I don't know. He said, because Michael was tight-lipped about what just went on, like if it was trauma, if it was any, he was just tight-lipped. He said, but I know one thing, I won't be forgiving Ashlyn anytime too soon about what he's done to my brother or whatever. And I said, look, Ashlyn, you're just making enemies everywhere. And so then after that, Victor and Michael comes in because Victor's in the office and Michael comes in and Victor's like, Michael, and he's happy to see him and everything. And he's like, what happened? And Michael was like, I, and then no, before that, Lauren comes in and Michael is like, Lauren, what you doing here? And she was like, you got to give me some answers, and I'm gonna be right here when you update Victor. I want to hear the update too. And Victor is just like, what can we do? So she sits down, they all sit down and they're talking and they're updating Victor on everything that happened. And he tells Victor that as soon as he sent that information to Victor, the police came and got him. And they put him in jail, and he said it wasn't federal, it was local. So he knows Ashlyn was behind it. He said he didn't get a phone call. They took his ID, they took his cell phone, so he couldn't reach out. Like there was nothing to reach out. And he says he was in that jail, and he already knew, you know, there was trumped up charges and everything, and he wasn't gonna get out. He said, and they said, well, how did you get out? And he said he finessed and charmed a prison guard, Hector, I believe that's what his name was, and Hector was having problems and he was about to lose his home, so he helped Hector out or whatever. So Hector, was grateful, so he allowed Michael to escape and told him meet this person on like a dock or something like that, and they helped Michael get passage out of Peru. And then when they got to San Diego, he said, I was so paranoid about Ashlyn because he said Ashlyn Locke is dangerous. He said, and I was so paranoid about him that I didn't want any like communication because I didn't know what he was gonna do. Because he was like, I needed to be here to make sure I had no before I communicated anything. He said, so I reached out to Kevin and Kevin came and got me, and that's how they got there. And he was just telling them about Ashlyn and everything. I'm sure Lauren knows now that Ashlyn was never sick because Michael had told them the story. And so then he told Victor, Ashlyn is dangerous. Like he's seriously dangerous. And Victor says, I know. And he was like, what's your plan? And he says, I gotta find him. We gotta plan a way to get him out of the company and out of Victoria's life. And they're just like, I don't know, because that man is crazy. Um, so then we see Nick and Vic Nick and Nikki go and eat because they left the office because Michael came and before Michael even came, they'd already left the office with Victor. So they go to eat and Nick is just like, I am worried that deep down Victoria doesn't want to admit that this is wrong, that she's made this big of a mistake again in love and she's jeopardized the company, that she would go back to Ashlyn and just believe out of sheer will not wanting to admit it. And Nikki says, we got to give her time to work this out. I trust her. She said, what scares me is that Victoria will do anything for this company and to protect this company. And that scares her because she would even put herself in harm's danger with Ashlyn to protect the company. And that scares Nikki. And they both agree, yeah, we just got to be there for her. So then we see Abby is still talking to Ashlyn, and she's asking about his health. She's asking about everything, and he's just lying to this girl. And she tells him about Dominic. She shows a picture of Dominic. She tells him about Chase. Chance and how Chance is coping and he's going back to work to help deal with everything. And she says, like you know, that's just a miracle that you're healed. But he's like you, he's gonna work through it. And Ashlyn, and he's there, but he's there, but he's not really there because he has all this stuff going on. But he, I guess because she's a Newman and he just wants her, maybe wants her on her side, being like, no, he's just so friendly. So she's telling him, we got to double date, me, you, and Victoria. And she's telling him that he and Victoria are goals. And I'm like, girl, no, they are not. But she thinks they are or whatever. So she's just going on, and he's like, and she was like, dang, I wanted to wait on Victoria to get here, but it's getting so late, I can't wait anymore. And he was like, I'll just tell her that you said hi. And while this is going on, me, get off my leg, please. Thank you. So while this is going on, Victoria is outside and she's looking, and she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to. She's not coming in yet. I guess she has to gather herself. So when she goes in, Ashlyn was like, "Oh, you just missed Abby," and she was like, "Oh, but I'll check in with her later. But I'm glad I missed her because I'm not really in the mood for company and everything." And he was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "I could use a stiff drink or whatever." And he was like, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "It will be when the bartender gets here." And he says, "What lies have your family told you about me now?" Okay, Ashley. And she just tells him, "You know, I just know that I love you and you love me because you wouldn't lie to me. You couldn't possibly treat me the way they say you've done or whatever. So let's just go away. I believe in you. You believe in me. Let's go to Tuscany." And he was like, "What?" Now he kind of is like, what you want to go for? You didn't want to go early." And she says, "Now let's just get away." And he said, "Won't you think that'll make your father and them think we're running?" And she said, "It doesn't matter what we think. We just need to get away from the negativity and everything and just focus on the business." And she was like, "You could see your son. We could be together. We could be happy, and we could get away from all the noise and everything." And he's like, "Yeah, it would be nice to see my son." And he was like, "All right, Victoria, I'll make plans." She said, "No need. I've already made the plans." And I said, "Okay." And he's just like, "I love how you're a step ahead of your family and you're trusting me and whatever." And baby, I don't know if Victoria has planned, but girl, I don't know what she has planned. But please, please, I'll wrap this up soon, because I'm like, it doesn't make sense for this to keep going on. Michael is giving evidence, Nate's giving evidence. I don't understand this, but okay, Victoria. But that was the Young and the Restless today, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you tomorrow for a new episode.